You're almost there. You will be richly rewarded in just a few minutes, I promise you. Okay, let's focus in for the final bit of thinking for the day. Ever wonder why music makes you feel such powerful emotions? Raise your hands if you don't like music. Fortunately, I can't see any of you, so I'm pretty sure I don't see any hands here. All right, well, music is so integral and powerful and accessible in our lives that we frequently take it for granted. Now, I want you to raise your hands if you think you know a lot about music. Still none. Well, you all do, and many more than you realize. For the last 7 years as director of music at Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London, I regularly found myself convincing people that, musician or no, we all possess remarkably refined musical intelligence. We all pretty much know what we like, we know what we don't like, we know what music to put on to improve our mood, almost like medicine. Any of us could name 100 musicians or more just in the span of 1 or 2 minutes. Think about that. Just try doing that with tennis players. Playing music has become so specialized today that most people are sure they'll never understand it, or they profess to being so woeful at it that they rarely try. In our culture, the creation of music has become sort of an exclusionary skill. They're good at it and not I. And I know that this mental barrier holds us back, both in expressing ourselves through sound and in advancing our curiosity into how music can improve our health, our mind, body, and spirit. We all deserve to understand music's powers. So I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes setting a challenge for us today to understand what music truly is so that you can use it to advance your curiosity for the rest of your lives. So first things first, rhythm and pitch are the two major qualities of music, right? I want you to eliminate this idea from your minds. Rhythm and pitch are exactly the same thing. Our human ears turn rhythm into pitch when they surpass 20 times per second. Think of your lawnmower starting up, right? That's rhythm turning into pitch. Well, it's hard to clap 20 times per second or do something else on my body to sort of demonstrate this. Some parts of our body involuntarily make pitches all the time. And the next time this happens to you in public, I hope you'll remember this conversation fondly. Now, any note you hear is actually a rhythm that repeats at frequencies within our range of human hearing from roughly 20 to 20,000 times per second. So I want you to all please hum a note with me. Now this, keep humming. Now what this means is that men, your vocal folds are vibrating, this is an F, at about 350 times per second. And women, your vocal folds are vibrating at about 700 times per second, twice as high. Thank you. Now here's the crucial thing about notes. When you hear a note, as when you just listened to it then, you aren't hearing only one note, but multiples of that pitch's frequency in the order of the harmonic series. So in a sound wave, like let's say the F you sang was that one right at the top there, 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4, and 1/5, and so on, of that pitch's wavelength are also sounding at the same time. Now these harmonics get quieter as they get higher and smaller, but together, these pitches give the fundamental pitch at the top its timbre or quality. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want us to sing together what all of these harmonics or overtones sound like together. So I'm going to need all of you. So men over 50. Do we have any men over 50 here? Can you hum this low F? Okay, this is good. This is good. Richie, I need you. Sing nice and strong for me here. Okay, good. Now let's call this the fundamental. Keep replacing your breath to continue to sing, please, as you go. Okay, men between 30 and 50, I want you to sing what is essentially this second pitch, the first overtone, half the frequency, which is that pitch. If you're 30 and 50 and you're male, I want you to sing that pitch. There we go. You're doing great. You guys are doing great. Richie, I need you. Now, men under 30, I want you to sing the second overtone, right? Which is this one here, right? That one over here, 1/3, okay? It's a C. If you're under 30 and you're men, I want you to sing this pitch. That's right. That's the C. Great. Now, women over 50, you're going to sing the next overtone, which is again the octave. There's the pitch there. If you're over 50 and you're women, can you hum that pitch? Now, women between 30 and 50, you're going to sing the next overtone. If you already know it, go ahead and sing it. It's the major third and it's an N. And if you're women and you're under 30, could you sing the last overtone? That's a C. And off. Now, 1, 2, 3, you're going to sing your pitch on a nice big ah as loud as you can. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. That's the harmonic series. It's also the major 1, 3, 5. It's the major chord. It's the major chord, and it feels good, doesn't it? It sounds good. It sounds like home because it is home. Every human culture in the history of the world has had access to this invisible order, and most have used it for their musical scales. Now, in the West, when we reduce the harmonic series, which is what we were just singing here, when we reduce it to a single octave, and we slightly simplify, we get this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We get the major scale. It's not arbitrary, but nature. Our major scale is derived from all the notes inside a single pitch, right? Now, the first big overtones here, this is important. The first, second note, 1, 5. That's why all the 19th century music, the only notes you tune a timpani to are 1, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, because that's the first original harmonic we have. 1, 3, 5. The major triad comes from these first original notes in the harmonic series. Now, just think about these scale degrees. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Musicians use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 to note scale degrees. Now think of when a composer is trying to elicit in us a big universal emotion. What numbers do they choose? 5, 5, 1, 5, 5, 1, 5, 1. Know what I'm singing? 5, 5, 1, 5, 5. Sing it with me. 3, 2, 2. I know, you were with me, weren't you? 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. I know you know the words. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 5, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1. Your average piece of music starts by establishing the home key. Sort of like in The Prodigal Son, right? Entirely at home, at peace with his family, until he feels compelled to leave. The hero's journey begins. The keys change, the bridge or development section occurs to color our sense of suffering. Dissonance is introduced, but ultimately, the home key is reestablished, the prodigal son returns home, the goat is slaughtered, and his siblings are pissed. Now, absolutely thousands of songs in the Western world are derived from this scale right here at the bottom. And when you incorporate these two notes with the arrows over them, that indicates in the harmonic series that the pitches are slightly flat and they're a little bit out of tune. Well, those are our blues notes, of course. They're inspiring us to express, to pitch bend, and to modulate for a different key, and they're really, really critical and all about jazz. This major scale, ground zero for music theory, is contained inside every pitch like DNA. We hear it and we don't even know it. Now, there's another way I can demonstrate this for you in case there are any skeptics out there. That inside every pitch you hear is the harmonic series, and it's called overtone singing. So if any of you know what overtone singing is, you can actually manipulate the cavities of your mouth to accentuate certain overtones that are in the pitch all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate this, and what's going to happen is I'm going to sing basically like this pitch here. But what I'm going to do is you'll hear above me some notes that sound kind of like whistling. So you're hopefully, if I'm going to do it right, you're going to hear two pitches at the same time. Now, I'm going to try to sing a melody that all of you know. And when you register what the melody is, I want you to raise your hand, okay? Yes? Great, thank you. And what song was that? Amazing Grace. So that's proof to you, those little whistling above the note is proof that all the harmonic series exists in every single pitch you hear. It's sort of like a miracle. One of the reasons Amazing Grace as a melody is so beautiful to us is because it only uses pitches that are inside every note in the history of the planet all over the world. It's a beautiful idea, isn't it? I think so. Now, when you start a scale on each of the notes in the series, well, you get all the modes, of course. Look at this infinite variety of stuff. There's the familiar minor mode at the bottom. This is the major scale we've been working with. And all of these modes here, well, these are our jazz modes and soloing, covering an astonishing array of music theory and giving us an astonishing array of variety. What I want you now to understand about this musical miracle is that these scales and all these modes are the product of three of the most simple and beautiful mathematic ratios we can come up with. Going back here, the series are this: 1, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, and 1/7. Those are the wavelengths of the overtones I sang. The second series is the distance between the overtones: 2/3, 3/4, 4/5, 5/6, 6/7. The third series is just the first overtone: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, otherwise known as counting. We don't know who established these ratios, but we're certain it was somebody who gave them to Pythagoras 2,500 years ago. Now, it was believed the simplicity and beauty of these ratios proved that the world, for 3,000, 4,000 years, was governed by a sort of hidden music, an idea that gained popularity via Plato as the music of the spheres. 2,000 years of mystics set about to prove that the planets did, in fact, have some harmonic conversation with each other until Kepler came along. Now, Johannes Kepler is most famous for proving that planets aren't actually in circles, but orbit in ellipses, orbit the sun in ellipses. An elliptical orbit has different speeds because when you get closer to the sun, that speed is a little bit faster because the sun gives you energy, and as you get away from the sun, it gets a little bit slower. So Kepler mapped the speeds of the planets onto musical staves and came up with these songs that the planets sang. What does this sound like? Well, it's very slow and it's a bit dull, and it's kind of pretty, but it doesn't comport at all to the harmonic series yet. But then look at this. Then what Kepler did, desperate to prove that the ellipse was actually more mathematically and harmonically pure than the circle, or else the church would have probably put him in prison and burned him. That's what happened back then. What he did is he took the fastest and the slowest speeds of contiguous planets, and he mapped them together onto the harmonic series, and look what he got. Now, you would think that these were random, but actually, if you map the slowest and fastest speeds of the planets together, you get a preponderance of C's, E's, and G's, right? And there's C's over here. They're not random, but strangely enough, the proportions of speeds of contiguous planets comport astonishingly well to the harmonic series. Now, why could that possibly be? Well, skeptics might think, well, why don't we compare the planets Kepler couldn't see? Well, let's do that. Okay, well, we did this in the last century, and look, you have this amazing, incredible degree of C, E, G. The truth is, of 74 measurements, 58 of them relate to the first 4 harmonics. Well, how could this be possibly possible? 1/2, 2/3, 3/4, not 66/528, not pi over 16.2, but really simple proportions. Now, what would make the planets do this? Here, let's look at this visual representation of the harmonic series, because this is important. Here are harmonics, the ones I sang, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, and 1/5. When we plot them against a distribution model, we get a sort of familiar curve. Does this curve look familiar to you? Well, look at the uses of words in the English language. Of is used about 1/2 the times of the. And is used about 1/3 of the time the. To is used about 1/4 of the time as the. Uses of the words in English comport astonishingly well to the harmonic series, astonishingly well to the speeds of elliptical orbits of planets. How could this be true? And not only does English do this, but every language that's ever been studied, including languages that we don't even understand, have this distribution. Well, what else has this kind of distribution? Well, look at this. The second biggest city in the US comports almost astonishingly well to New York, about half the size, all the way down here. There's another distribution harmonic graph. Well, what else can comport like this? Well, here's a list of NBA Facebook likes. And you can see the Bulls are liked about half as much as the Lakers, and the Heat, you can see the Pareto distribution is the same. Okay, now this is called Zipf's law, and it's pretty astonishing. George Kingsley Zipf was a linguistic expert who discovered that amongst an astonishing array of behaviors in the world, this harmonic distribution exists. And Zipf's law is related to something you'll be familiar with, which is the Pareto principle, which is that 20% of effort equals 80% of the results. 20% of criminals do roughly 80% of crimes. 20% of customers are responsible for approximately 80% of your sales. The top 20% of the population owns about 80% of the wealth in almost every major country in the world. Now, at the moment, in the United States, it's 86%. So it's slightly out of skew of this natural comfort zone, which either may be excess healthcare costs, we just learned from Nick Reber earlier today, or might explain the national conversations that we're having. Zipf's law, which is this Zipf curve here, reveals harmonic proportions across an astonishing array of behaviors in our world, like the ingredients used in cookbooks, solar flare intensities, the amount of web traffic websites get, the ratios of citations in academic books, earthquake magnitudes, the firing power of neural networks, the list goes on and on. They all bear a striking resemblance to this distribution. Why? In 1666, Dutch scientist Christian Huygens discovered that two pendular clocks, when set slightly out of sync, tick, 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 come into sync over time. Tick, 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 tick. This concept is called entrainment. Now, why it is that some periodic events like clocks and other waves will lock into sync with each other without anyone touching them has played a really mysterious role in science. Only in 2015 have we developed a predictive mathematical model to show how sound pulses can exert energy and influence over other periodic things that are around them. Entrainment is why I believe this Zipfian or harmonic distribution persists all throughout nature, and it is one of the most undiscussed powers of nature. It turns out that loads of things entrain together, other than pendular clocks, such as your circadian rhythms to the cycle of sunlight, biological pacemakers to your heartbeat, or simply when you jog along to a piece of music that you like. Have you ever found yourself pissed off at fluorescent lighting? Well, it turns out that fluorescent lighting oscillates at the same frequency as your brain waves when you're in deep non-REM sleep. Now, if you're the kind of person who gets cranky when you're tired, you may not know this, but your spouse will be able to call you out, then fluorescent lighting is actually triggering you to be cranky. Now, this is known in science, and this is called brainwave entrainment. Okay, now I want you all to sing, my name's Bill, I want you to sing me happy birthday. Go. Great, stop. Well, wonderful group here. Did you hear what happened? You all started on slightly different keys because I didn't give you a pitch, and with about 1 second you zeroed in on ba-dee-dee-dee. That is entrainment. It happens all the time. When we dance, we entrain to the beat. When we get on the same page, when we go with the flow, when we just say yes, we are finding increasing stability in the orbits of this world. We are also taking the path of least resistance. The likeliest reason the world works this way, I think, is because in physics, more energy is expelled when regular vibrations are out of sync. It is simply easier to be in sync with each other until the infinite complexity of the world knocks you off course. Being in sync has enormous survival benefits, such as, well, it comes with some funny side effects, of course, as well. Have you ever noticed a couple married so long that they start to look alike? Consider that your heartbeat, one periodic rhythm, could influence nearby periodic rhythms such as your breath. It turns out your heartbeat and your breath do come into harmonic relationships with each other occasionally, and twice as often when you're asleep as when you're awake, which makes sense because there are fewer things to knock them off course. And yes, there is evidence to suggest that lovers' heartbeats and breath do entrain together, and not even without touching. They just have to be in the same room making eye contact, and their heartbeats will lock into sync more often than strangers. It's sort of astonishing. Now, from there to Facebook likes, population distributions, and our harmonically aligning universe itself, regular waves are finding stability in the harmonic nodes of the harmonic series. I believe it is our physical nature to pursue harmony. And physics backs all of these assertions up, even if you don't find any of these theories running through the course of mainstream science. So recall that rhythm and pitch are the same thing. Your heartbeat is a pitch. Every repeating event, from your birthday to your birthday song, your pulse, your breath rate, your bowel movements, the rate of your nervous system, to the rate at which you pick up the phone and call your mother, every periodic event exerts some pressure over neighboring periodic events to make life easier, to find stability, to be in sync. If there is a neglected constant in the physics of our lives, it is certainly the harmonic law and our world's longing to find balance within it. So why should music not have such a power in our lives? Music is what this tug and pull in our universe sounds like. Music, with its familiar consonances and its jarring dissonances, sings the story of our very existence. And its natural harmonic hierarchy is an incredibly potent daily reminder against chaos, against entropy, against catastrophe, or against the inevitable dissolution of democracy, that beneath it all, we seek consonance, we seek stability, we seek harmony. And by God, we just might find it. Thank you.